Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. So here's a couple things. Number one, I'm trying to put together my Etsy shop, and I had been feeling kind of poopy, and I mentioned that I think yesterday. But I got a package in the mail today from my brother, and it was a bag full of pill bottles. And this is for my pill bottle, hand painted pill bottles. So, really, the point was for me to recycle, to use used pill bottles, but I mean, he sent me some, so I gotta use it. So to me, that means he likes the idea and he thought that they were good. And I think that was just the encouragement that I needed to start getting my Etsy shop set up and have some things to look forward to and feel a little more uplifted. So I don't know why I feel a little poopy. It could be because my family was in town and now they're gone, so things are back to the way that they were, and you're like wishing that maybe something changes, but everywhere you go, there you are, that kind of thing. But I feel kind of excited. I did finish the quilt that I was working on today. I finished it and I'm still working on a crochet project and so forth. So, I like to stay busy. So the Etsy shop is up and coming. And the first thing I'm going to be putting up there is my hand painted pill bottles that I've gotten a lot of um, amazed reactions from that I was able to paint these things. So that's kind of exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes. And then I'll be able to start putting other stuff that I work on up there too. So I'm looking forward to that. So that's what's happening. And so today I wanted to talk about love. The topic this morning that I heard was about how the fellowship, this love that we have in the fellowship, our sobriety fellowship, is a healing love. It's a love that heals and transforms. And in the beginning, it felt a little awkward to me, but it was something that I needed and I didn't know that I needed. And I kind of realized that a little more this morning as I was thinking through this topic. So when I first started going to meetings, and think about this. This isn't just in sobriety in AA meetings. This is if you're not you don't go to AA and you go to some other kind of sobriety meeting, which I have attended some other sobriety meetings, and the feeling was very similar there. It's very much that feeling is there when I go to my stroke support meetings and in my vestibular support meetings. So it is this kind of mutual love that we have for each other when we just want each other to succeed and heal and get better and live joyfully. So when I first started to go to my sobriety meetings, I did not walk in and feel an instant connection with everybody. Some people do. That was not the case for me. In fact, it took a lot of meetings before I found one that I really felt like I was home, felt like I was comfortable. You know what I mean? So the meeting where you like walk in and you just settle in and you kind of loosen up and just sink into your chair. Like the faces are familiar, the energy feels right, and you're not in a room full of strangers. You're with your people, you're with family, you're with people who get it. And there's something magical about that feeling in a room like that. Um, and it took me years before I felt that actual real connection about with other people in sobriety. And it wasn't totally obvious at first either. It was when I really started to feel this comfort level, it was when I started going to Club 12 in Leesburg, Virginia. I started going to we called it the commuter group meeting, and it met at 5:30 after work. And there was just people in there that I just felt like I knew them forever. I felt totally comfortable. Um, and I think what it took for me to start feeling that way is to get vulnerable. That's what I needed to do. So I needed to share. Some people go into meetings and they keep their mouth shut for years, even months, years. I really, really had this need to talk. I needed to share. I needed to get out of me what was in me. I think because I know that when I keep things to myself, I just get sicker. Like I have to let it out. And so I started doing that. And at first, I felt uncomfortable. I felt nervous. Oh my gosh. Every time I shared, like I would start crying, my voice would shake. It was terrible. Um, but the more I did it, the more I think we impacted each other's lives with our shares. And I'm still, even though I don't go in there to that same meeting like I used to because I don't leave the house because I'm unable to go there in person. I still keep in touch with all of those people that were in that meeting. Um, Everyone genuinely wanted each other to succeed. It's a different kind of friendship than I'd ever experienced before. It's unconditional and it's based on the principles of the program. It's not based on personalities. There's people in there that I don't have to like, but I still love them. Like I still want them to succeed in their sobriety. So, to be honest, like I struggled in the beginning with my sponsor saying, I love you. Um, I didn't really get it. Like I kept thinking, we barely know each other. How can you love me? It felt weird. But I wasn't used to that kind of, I guess, vulnerability. I wasn't used to people saying that, you know? But what I realized over time was that this saying that we have in sobriety is, we will love you until you love yourself. And that is what she was exhibiting to me. She was exhibiting to me that love. And it was unconditional. I didn't have to know her very well because that was one of the promises of my sobriety. And it was powerful for me, even if I didn't realize it at the time. The love that we give and receive in the fellowship isn't based on knowing every detail of each other's lives and even knowing the whole story of sobriety, even. Um, Again, it's not based on how much I like you. It's about the program. It's about showing up. It's about being present in the meetings, and it's about sharing your story because if I don't like you for some reason, um, and but you still share your story and I can relate to it, that's what brings us together. It's not about personalities. And over time, that kind of love, that kind of mutual support heals. And that has really worked for me. I am not going to lie. There are some meetings that I go into and I'm just like, ugh, because there may be somebody that drives me crazy. I know I'm not the only one. And that has happened for me. But as soon as that person starts sharing and talks about their story, there is something I'm able to just put all of that stuff, that meaningless stuff about personalities to the side and really look at what matters. And that is that we're here for the same purpose, and that is to stay sober. And that's really fascinating how the program teaches us how to look beyond personalities and really care for each other. Um, Today, the meeting, I think the first meeting we were talking about step 8. And I was thinking while we were talking about it and I was listening to people share, I was thinking about how step 8 really, the point of it is to go look back at my relationships and acknowledge those who I may have hurt when I was drinking. And then I really have to look at it, I have to get vulnerable and look at it. And that as I proceed with the steps, I'm going to take action. But I'm going to talk to my sponsor about it. And eventually I'm going to approach these people if me and my sponsor find that that is what's necessary for that particular relationship, that I need to make amends in order to heal the relationship. But that process of doing steps 8 and 9, and 10, as I continue to evaluate my relationships on a day-to-day basis, that helped me to it helped me to take care of my relationships better. I get to practice it on a daily basis with others in sobriety, and then I get to go out into the field, like I call it, into my real life and apply what I've learned. And the way that we treat people in our fellowship should mirror the way that we treat our family and our friends and our coworkers and even strangers. And that being able to go back to meetings again for me on a daily basis creates this like endless feedback loop of practicing love and getting better at it and then sharing it with other people in my program. So the the AA program, the steps really were the beginning of the end of my isolation. And that's what I learned was going to happen. And you don't know that it's happening. And then when all of a sudden it has already happened and you're not alone. I was really, when I was drinking, I was stuck in a loop of loneliness and I was just drowning myself in self-destructive thoughts and alcohol. And again, when I had my stroke and I was left my job a little more than a year ago, I started to go down that road again of my own self-destructive thoughts. And I could feel isolation starting again. But I knew that what I did in sobriety to get out of that. And so I had proof that it worked too. So that's what I needed to do again. And that was my drive to find support groups. I had asked my sister, that's where it started when I was the beginning of this recovery phase that I have been in. I asked my sister, like, can you find a stroke support group? I need people. I need my people, because I needed to feel that same feeling of being a part of. I needed to find people who cared about me. And I knew as soon as I virtually walked into a room with people who were dealing with the same recovery challenges that I am, that I knew that they would care about me immediately. And that's exactly what happened. And I began to care about them. And it's funny, I've never met any of these people in person that my stroke support group, and only meets once a month too. So I barely meet them and I barely know them, but I feel like I'm at home when I'm in that virtual room. And I know that I deserve to feel that way. Um, at the beginning of sobriety, I didn't feel that I deserved any of this stuff. So I think for sure the most important thing about how to get that kind of love and mutual support, no matter what you're dealing with in recovery, is showing up. There's nothing more healing and validating than someone being present for you and for you being present for other people. You don't have to have the perfect words. You don't have to fix anything. It's just being there in that room and listening. And when we show up for each other, we are practicing this love that you can have for complete strangers, you know? So I'm going to keep going back. I'm going to keep going to my stroke support group meetings and my sobriety meetings because that is where I learn how to have better relationships. And that is where I learn how to um, go out, listen to what other people have to say about what they're dealing with and their recovery and with their loved ones. And I can go back out and practice that, practice treating people with kindness and patience and respect, and know what it feels like to be treated that way as well. Learning how to communicate, like opening my mouth and how to listen and how to give without expecting anything in return. So that's what I have for you today. I feel really grateful that I have been able to find that kind of support in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, in the rooms of my stroke recovery program, which is out of the Leesburg. Um, I think it's Cornwall. I'm not sure. I think it's the hospital that's located in Leesburg. I don't think they're out of Lansdowne. It's interesting that I've never actually paid attention to that because I join virtually. But if you are a stroke survivor and you're interested in joining a support group, please reach out to me and I would be happy to give you the information to join us. And then the vestibular support group that I'm a part of is that came out of attending a VEDA conference, VEDA. It's a vestibular disorder association. And there's been a bunch of people who have vestibular disorders who are medically retired. That's what we call it. And we meet every single Tuesday. So if you have a vestibular disorder, think you may have a vestibular disorder, you are welcome to join us there too. So just reach out to me if you're interested. And finally, if you are interested in sobriety, if you don't know where to start, if you're interested in popping in and listening online to an AA meeting, you can also reach out to me and I'd be happy to give you that information as well. You can join me in all of my rooms if you're interested. So thanks for listening today, and I will talk to you tomorrow.